This is a wind chart, and this is a polar diagram. Those are two of the reasons why I am nowhere close to a boat right now, as the astute observer amongst you will probably have noticed by now. Well, technically I am, but I don't think this really counts. Hi everyone, Hauke here with an update to my adventure announcement from last week. As a reminder, a friend of a friend had purchased a Dehler 31 design in Europe and has it shipped to the US atop a cargo vessel. We were going to fly to Fort Lauderdale in Florida and sail it across the Gulf of Mexico to Houston, Texas. Flights were booked, bags were packed, but sometimes plans change rather abruptly. To better understand, allow me to explain some of the basics of sailing real quick. A boat powered by sails cannot head straight into the wind, which, unless you stop and think about it for a sec, may not be obvious to everyone. But there you have it. This essentially is a no-go zone. It is different for every boat and depends on its design and intended purpose. A modern racer, for example, will be able to point way higher than a boat made for cruising likely ever will. Where you want to go and where the wind comes from will determine your course and thereby your angle to the wind, which in turn will dictate how you trim your sails. Your angle to the wind and how strong the wind blows will influence what sails you hoist, especially when it comes to your head sails. With those three factors in mind, you can create a performance chart for any boat with any sail at any angle to the wind. This is called a polar plot, and for the Dehler 31 design it looks something like this. Depicted are boat speeds for three different head sails, a small jib in blue, an asymmetrical spinnaker in red, and a so-called code 0 in orange, at 7 different wind speeds ranging from 6 to 20 knots. A knot is a maritime measure of speed. It is a nautical mile per hour, with a nautical mile being 1.15 miles or 1.85 kilometers, so a knot is 1.15 miles per hour or 1.85 kilometers per hour. Let's take a closer look. If you are flying a jib in 6 knots wind speed, sailing at an angle of 40 degrees to the wind, you'll go about 4.8 knots. Right about here is where you would think about switching to the code 0, and at 60 degrees you'd be going about 6.2 knots in the same wind. A spinnaker is more of a downwind sail. You hoist it when the wind comes from behind. At 135 degrees you can expect to go about 9.4 knots in 60 knots of true wind with this one up on the boat. Okay, now that I am sure that's all crystal clear to everyone, let's talk about why we're not currently sailing across the ocean blue. Originally, the plan looked something like this. The cargo ship arrives in Fort Lauderdale on Saturday, and we take ownership of the boat and get it ready for departure on either Sunday or Monday. The winds are forecasted to blow from the northeast at a steady 15 knots for most of the week, so we can fly a spinnaker or a code 0 for most of the time and average about 8 knots of wind speed, or even more. The wind also is perfect for the direct route from the Florida Keys to Galveston, allowing us to clear the roughly 950 nautical miles in about 5 days. So far so good, but then one of the crew, we were going to be 4 in total, so we can take turns steering and taking watch while the others rest. Well, one of the crew had a late conflict and couldn't make it to Fort Lauderdale before Thursday, delaying our departure by about 4 days. In addition, the wind forecast looked significantly different for the new time window. Not only are we seeing wind directions turning against us, but the speeds first drop to almost nothing for 2 days and then pick up to over 35 knots. Pretty rough for a small boat like this. This would slow us down and force us to take a more protected route closer to shore, adding about 300 nautical miles. So now we're looking at a journey of about 9 days total. And keep in mind the boat is only 30 feet long. To reach the speeds we want to go, the small boat needs to go up on a plane, as its displacement or hull speed at best is only about 7 knots in good wind conditions. But we were having to provision for a longer sail now, and that makes the boat heavier, which in turn doesn't allow us to plane as soon and often as we'd like, slowing us down. All said and done, the exhilarating 5-day sail had now turned into a grueling 12-day slog. So the owner did the right thing and made the choice to scrap the entire plan and transport the boat here by truck instead. So there you have it, folks. Plans change, they always do. But at least I got to talk about sailing for a bit, and I hope that was interesting and maybe educational as well. If so, please do not forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.